Welcome back to Sleepy Histories, your calm corner for boring history and sleepy stories. Tonight, we invite you to sit back, relax, and explore a story you've likely never thought about. The story of gold, silver, salt and shells. Long, long ago, before kings wore crowns, before coins were made, before humans even walked the earth, gold already existed. But it did not come from the earth nut, came from the stars. Billions of years ago, in the dark of space, massive stars lived their lives in silence. And when they died, they exploded in massive supernovas. In those dying moments, as gravity collapsed in on itself, temperatures rose beyond comprehension. And it was there, in the heart of destruction, that gold was born. Yes, every speck of gold on Earth once floated through the void of space. Eventually, that gold, mixed with cosmic dust, joined with gas and elements, and drifted. Slowly, it became part of the swirling mass that would one day become our sun and the planets around it. Earth formed with gold inside it. Deep inside, most of it, still hidden far below the crust, lost to time and gravity. In time, some gold surfaced, pushed up by volcanoes, scattered by meteorites, washed into riverbeds. And there, the first humans discovered something yellow, shining, soft, and beautiful. They didn't know what it was, but they liked it. They collected it. They wore it. And so began the story of gold. In ancient Egypt, gold was not wealth. It was sacred. It was called the flesh of the gods. Only the pharaoh, the divine ruler, could wear it. They did not use it for coins, but for decoration, for death masks, for statues, for tombs. In Mesopotamia, and in the Indus Valley, gold was rare and seen as power. In China, gold was used in art, but silver and bronze were more common for tools. Gold was universal. No matter the place, no matter the people, they all valued gold. The first gold coins were minted in Lydia, an ancient kingdom in what is now Turkey. Around 600 BC. The king's name was Croesus. So wealthy, his name became legend. From there, gold spread across empires. The Greeks, the Romans, the Persians. Gold paid for armies, built palaces, and marked royalty. But it was never easy to find. For every ounce of gold, thousands of men searched rivers, dug holes, and dreamed. And so, through the centuries, gold remained precious. It made kings. It caused wars. It tempted explorers. And it inspired myths. The city of El Dorado, the philosopher's stone, the golden fleece. Gold was not just metal. It was a story, a dream, a symbol of something more. And even today, gold does not rust. It does not tarnish. It waits. It still shines, just as it did before Earth was born. Chapter 2. Silver, the forgotten royal metal. Long before banks, before dollars and euros, before the gleam of paper money, there was silver. Not as bright as gold. Not as rare. But more useful. More practical. More human. Silver has always followed in gold's shadow, but its story is just as old and just as fascinating. It, too, was born in the stars. In those same violent supernovas, alongside gold, silver was forged. Hurled across space, it landed on Earth. Hidden deep beneath mountains and scattered through riverbeds. When early humans found silver, they didn't see wealth at first. They saw beauty. They saw shine. But they also saw something else, strength. Unlike gold, silver was harder. It could be shaped into tools, into cups, into ornaments. It tarnished, yes, but that only made it mysterious. In ancient Mesopotamia, silver was used as money before coins even existed. They measured it in weight, in rings, in bars. In Egypt, silver was rarer than gold. It was called white gold. Pharaohs treasured it, buried it, wore it, In Greece, silver became a symbol of the gods. The moon was silver. Artemis, goddess of the hunt, was cloaked in it. And in Athens, silver made the city rich. A mountain called Laurion, just outside the city, was filled with silver. Slaves dug deep into the earth for tiny fragments of ore, and from that, Athens minted coins. The drachma, one of the world's first major currencies, was made from silver. Silver paid for temples, for soldiers, for ships. It helped Athens rise. In Rome, silver was power. The Roman denarius, a silver coin, spread across the empire. It crossed borders, bought goods, paid taxes, paid armies. And when silver became scarce, so did Rome's strength. Throughout the Middle Ages, silver continued to rule. In China, silver was the backbone of trade. In Europe, kings minted silver crowns. Silver bought land, bought peace, bought war. In the Americas, it was silver, not gold, that changed history. Spanish explorers came in search of treasure. In 1545, they found Potosi, in what is now Bolivia. There, in the shadow of a great mountain, was the largest silver deposit ever discovered. A city rose from the dust. Millions of indigenous people and enslaved workers were forced to mine it. Tons of silver were shipped across oceans. Coins were made. Empires grew rich. But people suffered. The mountain became known as the mountain that eats men. And still, silver gleamed. It adorned crowns, crosses, chalices. It became jewelry, mirrors, coins. Even today, silver is everywhere. In phones, in computers, in satellites, in solar panels. It reflects, it conducts, it heals. But in our minds, it is no longer royal. It is no longer sacred. It is forgotten. Yet silver's story is long. It has been with us through gods and empires. It has bought peace and paid for war. And though gold shines in glory, silver whispers of history, of value, of time, and of all the metals that shaped the world. Silver endures. Chapter 3. Salt, the white gold of the earth. Long, long ago, when the earth was still young, oceans formed, tides rolled in, and with them, salt was born. Salt, simple, white, and small, yet powerful beyond measure. Before cities, before kingdoms, before history was written, salt was there, waiting. Early humans didn't just find salt, they followed it. Herds of animals often traveled great distances to find salt licks. Humans followed them. And thus, the first trails became the first roads. Salt wasn't just for taste. It was for life. Without salt, the body weakens. Muscles cramp. The mind grows tired. Salt keeps water in balance, helps nerves fire, keeps hearts beating. And so, salt was sacred. Ancient Egyptians used salt to preserve not just meat, but people. Mummies, wrapped in linens, dried with salt, endured for thousands of years. In ancient China, salt was one of the first government monopolies. Entire dynasties funded by salt taxes. In Rome, soldiers were sometimes paid in salt. That payment was called salarium, which later became the word salary. Salt built empires. In Africa, caravans crossed the Sahara, carrying salt on camelback. Block by block, they traded it for gold. Yes, ounce for ounce. Salt was once as valuable as gold. In medieval Europe, salt was mined from deep within the earth or evaporated from the sea. Entire towns sprang up around salt works. Wars were fought over salt. Fortresses built to protect it. And even today, we use the word worth his salt to describe someone valuable. But salt was not always easy to get. In hot lands, salt would vanish in sweat. In cold lands, it would freeze into stone. But wherever humans went, they took salt with them. And so, salt became the white gold of the earth. Every bite you take, every drop of blood, carries its memory. A story of survival, of trade, of life itself. And just like gold, salt does not fade. It still sits, in oceans, in rocks, in our cells. Quietly powerful, always essential. The world, built on a grain of salt. Chapter 4. Shells, the first human currency. Long before paper bills or metal coins jingled in pockets, there were shells. Not just any shells, but shiny, smooth, delicately curved cowrie shells. They came from the sea, but somehow became more valuable on land. Thousands of years ago, in distant coastal regions of Africa and Asia, people began to notice these little white shells. They were hard, durable, and beautiful. Most importantly, they were rare in the interior. That rarity made them desirable. Soon, the shells were used not just for decoration, but for trade. 1 shell for a handful of grain. 2 shells for a pot. 100 for a goat. And so began the age of shell money. It wasn't official. There were no banks. No rulers declaring its value. But the people agreed, the shells had worth. In China, as far back as 1200 BCE, cowrie shells were used so frequently, they even appeared in written characters. One of the ancient Chinese characters for money is based on the shape of a cowrie shell. Eventually, metal coins were created in the same shape as cowries to symbolize their former use. Even long after real shells were replaced, their memory lived on in language and design. In Africa, the use of cowrie shells lasted much longer. For centuries, the Mali Empire, the Songhai Empire, and coastal traders all used shells in vast networks of trade. From spices, to salt, to slaves, shells changed hands again and again. European traders, realizing their power, imported cowries by the boatload, often from the Maldives, using them to gain influence in African markets. Shells became symbols, not only of trade, but of colonialism, of value distorted. But even with their history, cowries still held a certain purity. Unlike gold, they could not be melted down. Unlike coins, they had no king's face. They were gifts of the ocean, transformed by humanity into currency. Eventually, banks rose. Paper money printed. Digital coins created. But the cowrie remains, a reminder of our earliest steps toward economy, trust, and value. A tiny shell that once carried the weight of the world's trade.